I hope you guys are doing good. Now, today in this video, I'm going to start section 3.7 from the book 3.7. This is basically the optimization problems. Optimization is basically we will be doing the minimization or maximization again, but we will see some word problems. Okay, so let's start with one example. Example number 1. Okay, let us see the first example. Okay, on this example, find the two positive numbers whose product is 768. This is the product. Okay, 768, and the sum of the first number plus 3 times the second number is minimum. Okay, since you want to find out the two positive numbers, let us suppose that the numbers are x and y. So you want to find out the value of x and y. Okay, so how do I find out the value of x and y? There is, let us write down what is given there. So what it says is the product is x times the y is 768, right? And what do you want to minimize? You want to minimize the sum. Let's say s equals to x plus 3 times y. You want to minimize this, right? So you want to minimize it because it says the sum of the first plus the 3 times the second is minimum. Now if you remember from the finding the extreme values, what do? Is we find out the first derivative, right? And then we set that equals to 0. We find the critical numbers and then find the second derivative, plug in the critical numbers on the second derivative. That will give you minimum or maximum. But here here the problem is here we want to minimize s, but the s has both x and y. So we want to make just only one variable, just either x only or y only. How do I do that? Use the first given information for that. So let us do that. So if you solve for y, what do you get? Y equals to 768 over x, right? That's what you get, because if you divide by x on both sides, you get y equals to 768 over x. Now what you do is you can write s equals to x plus 3 times 768 over x. You see that? Okay. Now what you can do here is, now we want to minimize this function. So how do I minimize? Is you find out s prime. What is s prime? S prime is the derivative of x is 1 plus what is 3 times 768. The derivative of x is 1 plus 3 times 768 is 2304. 2304 divided by x, and then you need to find out the derivative of that one, right? So do you remember what is the derivative of x? What you do is you move this to the top, so it will be 1 plus 2304, and then so what you do is it will be moved to the top, right? It will be like x to the -1, and then you find out the prime, because we don't have to use the quotient rule. Why? Because the top is just a number, right? So what you can do is you can move this to the top, that will be x to the -1, and find the derivative of that x only, because this constant you can pull that out, right? So what happens is it will be -1 x to the -2, right? That will become -1 over x squared. So basically it will become x squared and then -1, right? So this will become negative. So that. The next step is you find the critical numbers, right? So set s prime equals to 0 implies 1 minus 2304 over x squared equals to 0, right? So how do I solve this? Is add this quantity on both sides. What happened is 1 equals to 2304 over x squared. Now our goal is to solve for x, right? Let's do the cross multiplication, or you can flip on both sides or multiply by x squared on both sides. If you multiply by x squared and then multiply by x square on both sides. You cancel this x square and x square, so basically what you got is x square equals to 2304. Now you need to take the square root, right? So when you take the square root, you consider only the positive sign, because the question says two positive numbers, right? So you want to find the square root of 2304. What you get is 48. So 48, that's what you got. So x is 48. Now we want to find out y as well, right? So how do I find out y? So y will be 768 over 48, right? That is 16. So we got x is 48 and then y is 16, right? So but we haven't checked whether it minimizes the sum or not, right? Because what it says is find the two positive numbers. We found two positive numbers, 48 and 16, whose product is 768. If you multiply these two, you'll get 768, and the sum of the first plus the 3 times the second is minimum. We need to check for the minimum, okay? So to check for the minimum, we find out s double prime. What is s double prime? Is the derivative of 1 is 0 minus 2304 over x square, and then you do the derivative prime, right? So how do I find out the derivative again? So what you do is you move that to the top, it will become x to the -2, and then you find out the prime. But 2304 stays the same because this is a number. You don't have to use quotient rule here. So what do you get is -2 x to the -2 minus 1, right? So that will become -2 divided by x to the third. So what you get basically is s double prime equals to negative 2304 times -2 over x to the third, right? So if you multiply, what do you get? It will be 4608 over x to the third. Now I want to check at x equals to 48. At x equals to 48, what do you get? S double prime is positive or negative? So s double prime is positive, right? If you plug in that, basically you will get, you don't need to find out the number 0.041, which is positive, right? Positive means, so the function s or the sum is minimum. This implies sum is the, so if you are asked to find out the minimum value as well, then what would you do is you plug in x equals to 48 and y equals to 16. So 16 times 3 is 48 plus 48 will be 96, right? So s will be 96, but the question did not ask.